I have to be sincere. Digital transformation can be a double-edged sword for employees. While from one side you have opportunities for growth and efficiency, it also represents significant challenges for corporations. One of the challenges, of course, is the gap between the skills employees currently possess and those required to embark on this digital journey. There was a study by McKinsey that found that 60% of all occupations have at least 30% of activities that could be automated. That's one. Second, there is resistance to change. So there was a study from PricewaterhouseCoopers saying that 38% of employees are resistant to change. And then the last one, which is dear to for many people, is the fear of the job security. The World Economic Forum estimates that close to 8 million jobs could be lost by 2030 due to automation. But it also predicts that there will be a creation of 9 million new jobs. So there is a lot of things happening, but that influences the brains of the employees. Today, my guest is Lilia Stoyanov, with whom we are going to be discussing about the topic of how do we make people, employees, ready for a digital transformation. So there is always a lot of discussion about the tools themselves, but we want to discuss about the people. And Lily has a lot of experience in terms of digitalization. She is the CEO of Transformify, a fintech and digital transformation expert also. She's also a professor at Zigurat Business School and an expert evaluator of Horizon 2020, the European Commission. So she has a very solid background, and not only because of what she's doing in order to transform the industry, but also because she has been working in several big-ass corporations in the world, which I will not name now, but Lily, feel free to mention them yourself. Lily, how did you transition from the corporate world? And I understood that you have a very solid financial background and you move into the entrepreneurial world. What made you tick and say, let's go for it?
Well, I have quite an unusual background. In my family, for generations, everyone owned businesses. And the moment it was obvious that there is a change in the political regime in the country, my family started preparing me for that role. And it's not out of a sudden, it's actually since I was 14 years old, I studied in a secondary school, a college of economics, to learn accounting and how to manage cash flows, to understand money. You need to understand money if you want to be successful managing businesses. Then I continued with management, specifically product management, industrial management, how you manage big enterprises. And on top of that, you imagine first, you understand how to manage money. Secondly, how to manage people and process. Then you have the next one, and I master's is in financial control. You need to control this. You need to understand what are those internal controls in order to be managing a business without being completely involved in it as a shareholder, not as a managing owner. And eventually, it was my career built around all this. So it was the last step. Corporate career was actually the last step with Coca-Cola Enterprises, and I was part of the team of directors that led the financial transformation across Europe that I needed before starting a business of my own, before starting investing in businesses. It's very well planned and structured over time, unusual for many people because they believe to start a business you need to be a college drop-off, and I graduated from Oxford on top of masters to make sure that I know how to sell businesses. But it's different when you plan it. It's different when you have a clear idea where you want to end up, not only where you want to be right now, but what is the next step.
In fact, the path of jumping from a corporate career to being an entrepreneur is maybe the same kind of excitement and fear that we feel when there is a digital transformation in an organization, because it's about how do we manage the uncertainty. And um, the most important point is how our brain is going to process this change, which is not easy. I mean, we both have become entrepreneurs, jumping from corporation to have dealing, managing our own businesses. Excitement and fear mixes in one shot, right? Do you see it like something similar to the jump to going into a corporation and having a digital transformation?
Absolutely. I can imagine how people feel, and I have seen it in real life. How do they feel about a major change that impacts their lives, that impacts the way they do business, and also their expectations? They don't know if they will have a job tomorrow or they will be laid off. Quite often, that's what's happening. They get
Mm,
laid off, and it's normal fear. What we as managers need to do is to manage change but also to manage expectations, and to clearly depict the picture. What's the goal? What do we want this company to be after the end of that transformation? What happens with departments, processes, etc., so people have clear expectations. And this is something many companies, not just corporations, any size of a company, fails doing right. There is some, I would say, fear, and that fear is on the management side. They don't want to say straight, this is where we want to be in 2 years when we complete the digital transformation. We
mm,
plan that 20% will be laid off. We plan that certain systems won't be used or they'll be used in a completely different way. We plan that we'll abandon certain processes. They fear communicating this. Okay, if you communicate it straightforward, just the way I did now, probably you will be faced with anger, and that's normal. There is a good way to communicate without facing that anger but still raising the expectations right. And that's what managers need to learn. It's proper communication and proper expectation management, not only change management.
mm.
There are tons of books on change management, courses on change management, very few on how to manage people's expectations. So there is a huge gap, and definitely there is an opportunity for people like you that focus on providing such services. You can jump and you can bridge that gap before your competitors do so.
The crazy thing, Lily, is that it is a principle that we all are aware about ourselves, that our brain or our psychological expectations is that we need to have certainty in our life, like about the income, about what we are going to be doing tomorrow. And despite that, so even when we go and check for some change management models, the psychological part of how to manage people is really put on the side. And that I found it incredible, because everybody's aware that we don't like uncertainty. And that's the thing, that the most important thing that we should be managing during the change, like during a digital transformation. But there are many other challenges that probably you have observed about digital transformation. It has to do with the people. Have you observed any major challenges, fuck ups that organizations have done during this digital transformation?
Many, many. And what I would say, first, if you have a company that's very, very established, a corporate that has been around for 50 plus years, that company is likely to have people who started as interns and stayed with the company all their lives. They have been for 20, 30 years with the company. And out of a sudden, you're telling them, we are completely changing the way we do business. We'll establish a shared service center, so you won't have a finance, HR, IT team in every country. This will be centralized and it will be sitting somewhere, preferably overseas.
Hmm.
That's usual. You normally see all these people in shock, and that's normal. But what you need to tell them in this particular situation is what do you plan for them? We are human. It's one to discuss company goals, something else to discuss on a human level what happens next. And in this case, what we need to discuss is okay, these are our learning and development programs. We will no longer have product managers, for example, but those people performing those jobs have certain career opportunities and they could choose, and these are the options for them. This is how we'll invest in them. If they are to make redundant, again, it is absolutely necessary to state clear that it's not because of poor performance, it's not because they're not valued, which is quite often what I feel talking to people. After giving 20 plus years to a company, they get laid off and they feel undervalued, they feel underappreciated. The truth is, it's not that they're undervalued. Most probably, it's the opposite. The problem is, given their skill set, given what the company is doing with the processes, maybe there is no way to retain them, there is no way to reskill them, or it's too expensive, or it's not feasible, or simply there is no budget for that. Quite often, that's the answer there is no budget for that.
Hmm.
Digital transformation is quite often pursued to cut costs, and it's no secret to anyone involved. And if this is the case, the best is openly tell people, okay, we value your performance, we value everything you have done for this company. The reasons that we can't provide any career opportunities, we can't provide any option to you now is that simply we will not need these skills. Everything will be automated or everything will be outsourced, could be
Hmm.
outsourced quite often also. But you need to be clear, you need to be candid, you need to really show people that you appreciate what they're doing.
Hmm. I like it. There are 2 points that stay in my head about what you just said. So from one side, it is about this sharing the company goals, but it's almost like more than sharing. That comes from the top of the organization towards the bottom of the organization is more a discussion. You have used the word discussion. So that stays, it is important that it becomes the goals or the way to reach these goals are shared within the organization in order to find solutions. And the other one is about by having a straight communication, you give people choices, options. They get prepared. So some of them will decide, for instance, to catch up with certain skills that could be necessary for the organization. So at least they have the choice. If you tell them already too late that the impact is going to be this type of things, they will not have the choice because it will be definitely too late. So it is important the involvement and the giving them this straight communication, candid communication that is not about being ruthless. It is about being sincere. And that recognition can be, people recognizes when people are saying the honest, sometimes brutal truth, and they appreciate it.
Brutal is something that we see all the time, and to me, it's not the right way to communicate it. It's rather be candid, be there for those people that are going through a really, really tough time in their lives. They need to restructure the way they plan their lives. They have families, they have mortgages, they sometimes need to stay in a small city or village. At the beginning of our conversation, you said, I now live in a small village in Switzerland. Imagine tomorrow someone is telling you, you need to change everything. There are no jobs, in your case, no clients in that village. So you need to abandon your house, your friends, your family, and you need to move elsewhere to pursue some opportunity that's still unclear. What the company sometimes does is obviously not only offering you reskilling or a career path within the company, they may offer you help to find another job, or in your case, to find new clients, not in Switzerland, but in Dubai. And in this case, you are absolutely unprepared for what's happening. You did not expect it to happen in the first place. What you need to do is not to be brutal. People are already in shock. They suffer anxiety. They may suffer something even worse than anxiety, which I have seen quite often. There were cases of strokes, there were cases of burnout, etc. Depending how sensitive the person is, how helpless they feel in the situation. Rather sit with them and talk to them, and this is something the managers but also the HR team needs to do to make sure that they feel as comfortable and safe as possible during this period of time that out of a sudden becomes all uncertain. What was certain, they knew they have a job, they receive their annual bonus, they have their annual assessment, their work is appreciated, everything is under control. It goes out of control, so you need to make them as safe as possible. You can do that. And it is done right by many organizations. I have seen many bad examples as well.
Hmm. So it's almost like because you're removing people from the things that they have taken time to acquire, a job security, a house, as you said, a network around, and suddenly there is a risk to lose everything. It's almost like people are going into a grievance mode. It's almost like they have lost someone. Lily, I wanted to dig a little bit more about the topic of, and because I don't know if there is a clear answer regarding about how do you assess the current level of digital readiness uh, for employees. So how do you know if your employees know something or not? Taking into consideration that today there is a lot of people like they spend time on their own learning new skills just for the hell of it. I mean, I I spent some time doing data science. I spent some time, I don't know, listening to a course in Stanford about happiness or whatever it is. So, and sometimes this is information that is not captured anywhere in the HR systems. So, but how do we assess that people have a certain level of digital readiness? So, in order to do the change and know this guy I can count on, this guy maybe it will have a hard time.
I call this growth mindset. They need to be ready to learn more, willing to learn more. It's not so much how they know already. I don't expect everyone to know a lot about a new system that is going to be implemented.
Mm,
In the past, specifically at Coca Cola, during the finance transformation, we were implementing new systems. It was new version of SAP, it was SAP Ariba, etc. They were not used by that time by many of the group companies. Do you expect people to be knowledgeable about them? The answer is clear no. They
mm,
were not working with those systems, they were not supposed to learn anything about them. What you need to assess is first their resistance to change. If they're super resistant, it will be hard to instill knowledge in them. They will learn it, but they'll learn it not because they want to, they'll do it because they need to, and it's not the same end result. Please excuse me. So, the first in this particular case is to make sure that people are excited and they have the growth mindset to learn something new.
mm,
And to make them excited, the best is to have that information structured in a very user friendly format. To me, if you have training videos that are bite sized, not more than 5 minutes long, giving you insights into specific functionality, into something specific they need to learn how to do, they won't resist it. It's easy, it's snackable content. They could do this on their way to work. They don't feel pressured. And the very same, you can send them a very long user manual of 100 pages for something they can see in 5 minutes, full of corporate jargon there. They feel lost, they feel overwhelmed, they simply give up.
mm,
It's the approach you could follow, and I see companies doing that. Okay, you have a new system and it comes with endless pages of user manuals and it's not easy to learn. Okay, get the experts to record videos for your team edit this, it's cheap. You can have an intern do that, but you feel much better later on seeing your team relaxed, having something they understand that doesn't take too much of their time. It's a very simple example how this could be done and how you could cultivate that growth mindset. They're open to growth, they're open to learning something more because they don't feel pressure to put extra effort there. It's rather an activity that adds daily pleasure because it's so easy to do it. It saves you time that you do have to do it again.
Lily, despite of what you just mentioned, you brought some memories back of this workshop of 3 days where you are supposed to know the new system just because you spent 3 days. So in 3 days, maybe I paid attention for a couple of minutes. I didn't keep anything, as you say, but the way we adopt growth mindset starts also by the methodology of learning. And we cannot learn anymore in this 3 days workshop or reading them 100 and something pages of manual. That's incredible. You cannot have a transformation if you don't have a methodology of how you're going to inspire people, make it easy for them to grab the new knowledge and apply it on one go. One point that you have mentioned, Lily, is about this resistance to change. Um, well, resistance to change, it can come from different people saying, oh, if they come with a new system, of course, I will not use it because it's shit. It came from these guys of Accenture. I hate them. They don't have nice haircuts. McKinsey is better or whatever. I'm inventing. But there is, how do you how do you find a way to take the temperature of this resistance of change at a large scale? I'm not talking about this one-on-one that somebody's bitching about the new things, but how do you take the temperature of an organization to know if they are ready or not to this change?
Build excitement. It's the very same. And I'll go back to very good PR practices. When a big company wants to excite the stakeholders, being it their customers, being it their team, they have a communication plan, and this one is built for months before you start rolling this out. How to excite these people, how to make them bite in. If you start the right way from the beginning and you portray this as, imagine we are going to be the pioneers doing this and that. We are going to be the Tesla of the consulting world. For example, because we do something super new, super exciting, people bite in a certain way. You give them an idea, you give them a go how great they can be. But now imagine your communication, which is very, very conservative and raising more points than answering any questions. Something like, based on the expectations of the financial markets and the potential appreciation of our share price, we believe that integrating a new system would be seen as an advantage by our shareholders and investors, and that's why the company will embark on a transformation process. Do you buy this in? Does it answer any questions you have on the top of your mind? So both are examples of real life communication. You can see many of them now if you open any press releases of a variety of companies going through transformation. You see one example and the other. The first example is more likely to be a technology company that's going through very fast growth. Imagine a competitor to LinkedIn, a company like Transformify that's growing super fast. It's a technology company. So this type of communication is quite common to tech companies. That's how they communicate. That's how they immediately say, we want to do something new, something great. We want to be innovative. We want you to jump in because you will love the process, you will be part of it, and people love it. And the other one is seen with lots of companies that are more conservative, traditional. They use that language, but that language usually plays against them. It doesn't inspire people, it rather worries them. It may create more questions than it answers. You can imagine what people will start asking each other. Is there something hidden? What's the meaning behind it? They're not telling us everything. You're just building anxiety. And it's a style that to me needs to be abandoned. If you start from the beginning using that communication style, then you're already building resistance to change, you're already building anxiety, you're already building a hostile environment for that transformation to happen.
Hmm. Lily, your words totally resonate with me. And in fact, I have tried to organize them in my own language. So in order to have to, let's say, encourage the change, to nudge people, one is it's less about overselling why we are doing, because if it is if we do it too much, people can feel it. But I found that there is three elements that you have mentioned. One, it is having a purpose, so that it becomes something that is exciting. It's not about the shareholder value. It is doing good for society, doing good for a job that is amazing, or the culture of the organization, purpose. Then there is the other level where people get motivated intrinsically, is the level of autonomy. I can apply things on my own. So giving them a little bit of possibility to adapt, to build their jobs around this digital transformation, to find new uses, new use case about what has happened. And the fact also that they are continuously improving. So having time, like if it is about reduction of time, that having more time to do something that is more exciting, instead of going like into an Excel file and entering data like crazy. You have time to use your brain for something that is more powerful and is irreplaceable by technology, which is your level of innovation, your imagination. So I love this side. Now, you have mentioned the topic of growth mindset. There is two level of a question here, because when we are adopting new a digital transformation, sometimes it is not that we are is going to be decided, let's go on this solution. Let's talk about AI. Today, we see the growth of different solutions for AI, but maybe the organization hasn't decided I will take this one or I will take the other. But people have started already learning and understanding the concepts behind AI. So in order already by that employees take decisions, let's go into that direction or not. How do you create this culture of wanting to learn more about technology, so that you are the one bringing it to as a potential solution for automation, for whatever it is in the organization? How do you encourage this culture of continuous learning? Is
What
there?
I love and I have seen done right are monthly newsletters sent to all employees, actually the entire team. To me, the team are not just the employees. You have independent contractors, you have temp workers. Send it to the entire team. Again, do it interactively. Tell them, here is something very interesting, a case study that if you use ChatGPT 4, for example, and this is the prompt and how to write a prompt, you get this response. I love one such newsletter I receive myself from time to time. And of course, I'll not mention who is sending it because it would be a hidden advertisement. But what it tells you, here is a prompt how to write a great sales copy, for example. With an example, you need to tell ChatGPT, imagine that. You are the HR director of company X, and at the moment you're struggling with timely payments to your contractors because it's too messy to do this without the system. And if you automate it, you're gonna save 60% on costs. So write a compelling sales copy, but it gives you precisely how to do it, how to do it right. It tells you, tell ChatGPT who they are. They need to imagine they are the HR director. Of course, ChatGPT is an AI tool, it's not a human. But again, you need to clearly define the role. Then the next part is what that one is struggling with. Tell them they don't know, it's artificial intelligence. They don't struggle, but you need to tell them what they're supposed to struggle with. So it's super, super interactive, entertaining, and it's usually with great infographics or a video how it is done, and people love it, and they wait for the next such newsletter because again it's not corporate language, it's not something hard to read. It gives you powerful example with an infographic how it is done, and they start playing with it immediately. They, okay, we are all children grown up, and there is a child playing inside us that needs a new game all the time. The moment you give them the game, they will play it, they will enjoy it. And that's how it is to be done right. So they don't resist new technology, but don't bring the new technology as something cumbersome, as something taking their time. No, do it interactive, do it easy, do it snackable, and send that newsletter regularly so they expect every last Thursday of the month we're gonna get something exciting. Make it exciting. And that's how over time you can also send polls to the people and ask them, okay, the last 2 months we shared 5 tools, and of course this is targeted to the different teams. Every team needs something different. But let's say what I'm asking my marketing team is, you have 4 tools and we pay for certain period to play with them, to start using them, to see how they work and compare them with each other. Now vote which one did you like the most and why. It's a poll. Again, you're sending this on Slack, you're sending this via email, whichever method you prefer. But again, people like it. If it is a poll, they want to see the end results. And if it is an interactive poll, they see lifetime. Okay, already there are 5 that are into right zoning. There are 3 that are in surf SEO, etc., etc. So it's even more interactive. You don't know who is voting for every tool, but you need to see how many votes every tool is receiving real time. They love it. Again, you can do it in a way that excites people, that engages them.
I love what you say, especially this angle that you have just mentioned about that it's not about sending communication about the tools themselves, but some a communication that ignites curiosity. And that's amazing because curiosity is the most human thing that we have, and it's easy for any level in the organization to ignite this curiosity because you are putting in front a challenge that is achievable. And yeah, I would do it. And another thing that I can extract of what you just say, that in change itself, it doesn't even matter anymore what is exactly the change, like the new tool that you are going to implement, the new version of SAP, Oracle, I don't know, whatever it is. It's about the uh, the the communication level that is going to have the most impact on people wanting to embrace the change. So that it is I have the impression of what I heard from your side is something that is even more important than the tool, that the change itself is the way we are managing this change.
You're right. And you can manage it in various ways. To me, the one that always brings the best results is the native way. You need to
Mm,
sound native, you need to sound as one of these people because you're one of them, you're part of the same team. And quite often, not just the management. It's the marketing team that forgets that they're part of that team. And it sounds like a message coming from elsewhere. Someone on moon has sent that message to Earth. It's so unnative. No, don't do that. Don't
Mm,
do that. Imagine what you would love to receive yourself. Would you love to play with this too? First, you need to, of course, grant access to a free version or whatever else so they can touch it, they can play with it. Then, would you like to receive those emails if they're boring? The answer is a clear no.
mm.
If you answer to yourself as a communication expert, okay, do I like receiving this email? Your answer is no. Why do you send it? It's my question. The very first time I hear, and I usually ask not just my marketing team, everyone else, when we are doing something specific as an exercise, I ask them, would you like to do it? Would you like to receive it? If the answer is no, my next question is, why do you ask me to approve sending this in the first place? If your answer to that is no.
Lily, how you have mentioned this example with the marketing team being more involved, and I was wondering sometimes when you are into this need for innovation, and at the same time you need to keep on running your business. So it is very difficult because I have seen it live, like some finance guys that remove from their finance team to be in a specific project that is mixed for this big innovation change and so on. How do we, how companies can decide the balance that there needs to be in taking resources from one side to allocate them to this big change, and at the same time is expecting that you have operationally the running operational efficiency.
First of all, growth and change are supposed to feel uncomfortable.
Mm,
Clearly communicate that there will be some discomfort. It's always there. And I feel it daily. My company is growing super rapidly. Every 3 to 6 months, we change scope of responsibilities due to growth. We need people to shift from one scope to another, and we bring new people in if needed, or simply automate. In our case, we automate a lot. We grow in terms of revenue and profit, but we don't need to hire people at the same pace due to automation. Simply, again, explain why is it happening. Explain why do they feel that pain. People need to understand it to buy it in. And then to decide how to reallocate your resources. To me, it's always looking at the strong side of every person. What do they bring to the table? If someone is really, really strong understanding customer needs, I would put them more often on calls with customers in order to document those needs and to translate those needs later on to the IT team that needs to develop new functionalities, or to translate this to the sales team that needs to clearly communicate USP, unique selling point, to potential clients. You would be surprised that not everyone is capable of first understanding someone else's needs. You need to be very reflective. Not everyone is naturally. And secondly, to be able to clearly communicate this to someone else, to explain it in a way that the other person understands.
mm,
That's how I define who is sitting on client calls. They may not have a title of product manager, and they're not product managers, but they could explain this much better than an average product manager. The very same is, okay, I need people to automate certain process, and we have lots of API integrations with payment providers to be able to process automatically thousands of payments. Okay, you need that. Who is the person to be working on the next integration, and what are the current tasks that are assigned to that person? Who is the best candidate to take care of those tasks? Who has enough excitement about doing that job? First, I have people on my team that are mostly into the newest way of implementing something, which is not necessarily the best way. It may be the most innovative way, but it's more expensive, it takes more time, it's more prone to errors. So the latest, the most innovative is not always the best in all cases. You need to keep this on the top of your mind. That's the same around machine learning and artificial intelligence. How much you use it, what's the added value? Okay, it's very, very exciting to say we utilize AI all the time. What's the cost of it? What is the resource you need to keep it up and running? What's the added value to the client? If you have at least a few of those questions answered to there is a moderate added value or none, it's just we want to sound innovative having it. My answer to that is clear: don't do it. Don't do it. It's not necessary, it doesn't add value, it's very costly, it will eat the profit margins. It's very, very costly to develop and maintain sometimes. Just don't do it. And that's how you need every day, because you face that change daily if your company is growing fast.
Hmm.
Every day you face the same questions. This is what is to be done. Look at the team, who is the right candidate to be assigned to that task, and they need to be excited about that task. They need to love doing it. You need to understand very well the people you work with, what
Hmm.
drives them, what motivates them. There are people who are very detail oriented. I'm not one of them. You lose me if I need to go into tiny details. But I have people who love it, so this is immediately delegated to them. I know that this is their strength and it's not mine.
Hmm. I you have mentioned a keyword that has now been stuck in my mind. The challenge for many to understand needs. And it made me think about when you are into the digital transformation, and even if you are not, it's just to get the business better, more innovative. There is still a lot of people that have that challenge to understand needs. And my question to you would be, so in order to prepare for any major change, shouldn't corporation train at scale into the process of being more customer oriented, using, I don't know, agile methodologies, design thinking, maybe even empathy, which is a challenge for many. Today, in most of the organizations that I have been working with, is only certain department in corporates, so big companies. Um, Only couple of departments are aware about what is design thinking. And funny enough, it's never, almost never finance who has been trained to design thinking. It's either marketing or product development team. Um, what is your take into what is necessary in order to prepare the change that you teach the organization so that they are really mentally there to embrace the change? What should they learn?
I'll start with the hiring process. It is something I see too often. You have a template for a job role. That template is quite often reused from another company, or there are online software solutions that are giving you a template for customer support representative, and you see the same template used by mostly all of their clients. The recruiters are not taking time to adjust that template even, but it's not about the templates. You're hiring people, and those people need to be fitting into certain profile. Before we hire someone for a particular role, I'm asking whoever will be working with this person to imagine who they want to work with. What are the characteristics of that person we want to hire for them? Do they want someone data oriented? Do they want someone super proactive? If so, why? We have that brainstorming process for some more critical roles. to understand what's the profile of the person we're going to bring in, how this person is going to align with our corporate values. Here, the question for many companies is you have the corporate values on the wall, but do you ever look at them? Quite often, they're just there and they stay on the wall. And once you have that profile, you bring in the right people, and the right people aligned with the right role usually translate into that flexibility. Of course, if flexibility is what you're looking for, you might be looking for something else. But in my case, our values are all around equality, flexibility, and growth. And the moment we have people who really align with those values, then it's very easy to excite them about doing something new. It's very easy to keep them resilient if something goes wrong, and it does go wrong when you are developing something new. It's impossible to be right all the time. No one is. But they need to keep resilient rather than to back off and say it's not working. Okay, it's not working. We'll make it work. It's fine. So that's where you start, and that's where lots of companies really fail. You get people who are not, first of all, you don't know who you're looking for. The skills are one. Who this person is something else. That's where it starts, and that's how it gets messed up later on. And the bigger it gets, the more people who are not aligned you get on board, the worse it gets.
Indeed, indeed. Lily, in your current company, Transformify, I guess you spend a lot of time to explain. In fact, as you were mentioning, to explain the type of profile, because your company is about preparing for the future of work, so very futuristic about outsourcing talent from anywhere on the world with the right compliance elements so that it becomes painless to have a Ukrainian working with a Japanese, working with a Brazilian in a project that where you don't want to have employees. You want to have just partnerships and to have this certainty about how you're going to manage this a specific project. So you spend a lot of time, I guess, explaining also how to craft this job description with the qualities, what type of values, in order so that the people don't expect to have the best of the best for the cheapest price of possible, because everything has a price. If I am innovative, detail oriented, and I know a lot about AI, that means that you're going to pay me more than just the basic salary, right? Is it a challenge for you to go and again explain to company one, this is how you should be doing, or how do you see that part of your job?
It shouldn't be that complex. It's rather one question: why do you need that?
Mm.
And the moment you hear the answer, it's much easier to craft everything else. And if they don't have the answer, if they don't know why do they need that, why do they want to do that, if they even want to do that, it's rather we'll do it. Why? If you don't hear an answer there, you have a much bigger problem to sort out. But I hope you're not facing this too often with people who do it because the competitor did it, so we need to copy it. That's problematic, and I believe there is no need to explain why this is problematic.
Lily, we are close to reaching the end of this episode about the needs that there is behind the human needs, in fact, behind any digital transformation. And I wanted to ask you, so how can people reach you out to understand more about your personal journey, to understand more about what Transformify is doing for the future of work? How can they reach you out?
I'm super open to communication. I love talking to people, and I do it all the time. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn. Then there is personal Instagram account. If you want to follow what I'm writing about, I have my entrepreneur.com. And of course, you can always visit www.transformify.org and use the chat there. It won't be me directly, but at least someone on the team will come back to you and talk to you. And if you insist that you get in touch with me, they'll simply give you my email.
Okay, so I will put all these links, the Instagram, LinkedIn, and website of transformify.org below. And remember, you can insist in the chat, I want to talk with Lily. That you can do. That's good. Lily, it was really lovely to spend time with you. I hope that the weather back in Porto is magnificent. And I hope that you have one of these beautiful views too.
Well, many, many thanks for that. What I see outside is that the rain stopped. Obviously, someone is listening to you. Many thanks for the good wishes, and I would love to see you soon.
Thank you, Lily. It was lovely to spend time with you. Have a nice day.
Likewise.